This meeting of the Community Development Board is called to order on May 18th, 2021. Welcome, everyone. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This board consists of 7 members and 1 alternate who are appointed by the City Council and serve voluntarily. I am Mary Lau, and I will ask the other members and staff to introduce themselves, beginning on my left.
Michael Boutsikas.
Brian Barker.
Jay Daniel, attorney for the board.
Lauren Matzke, Assistant Director, Planning and Development.
Michael Foligno, Assistant City Attorney.
Jordan Behar.
Mike Flannery.
John Quattrocki.
Please remember to turn off your cell phones so that they do not become a distraction during the meeting. Please also refrain from having conversations in this room so that we might hear all of the testimony given today. To ensure a complete record of this board's actions, we ask that each individual wishing to speak, including the applicant, speak into the microphone at the podium in front of us, clearly state your name and spell your last name for the clerk. Now I will ask those in attendance who plan to speak today to please rise and be sworn in by the clerk.
Please raise your right hand. You swear affirm the testimony you're about to give us the entire truth.
Agendas of today's meeting are on the podium to your left near the entry door. Also on this podium are a roster of the Community Development Board, the list of city staff experts and their resumes, the board's rules of procedures, and the annual schedule of this board. Our first order of business is to review and approve the minutes from last month's meeting. May I have a motion for approval of the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved. Next item is any citizens who wish to be heard on a matter that's not on today's agenda. Is there anyone who wishes to speak or address something that isn't on today's agenda? All right. We will move directly to our regular agenda. We have a single case that is a level 2 case. All level 2 cases, such as flexible development, are considered quasi-judicial hearings. In a quasi-judicial hearing, the Community Development Board reviews the application, the staff report, correspondence, and all evidence presented today, and makes a final decision subject to appeal. This board has previously qualified all of the city staff who will testify as experts in their area of professional training, education, and experience. The list of city staff experts and their resumes are in the handbook on the podium near the entry door. Any other professionals who desire to be qualified as an expert witness shall so request at the beginning of the case and present a resume to each board member. The board shall determine whether or not to qualify the person as an expert and in what field. At the beginning of each level 2 case, I will ask for anyone who wishes to request party status to come forward and state your reasons. Party status may be granted if the person requesting such status demonstrates that he is a substantially affected person. The board will then determine whether to grant party status. Then the case will proceed as follows. Request for party status, followed by presentation by planning and development staff, presentation by the applicant, presentation by persons with party status, cross-examination of witnesses by planning and development staff, cross-examination of witnesses by applicant, cross-examination of witnesses by persons with party status, comments by the public, 3 minutes per person, closing remarks by the planning and development staff, closing remarks by the persons granted party status, closing remarks by the applicant, and closing of the public hearing and discussion and vote by the board. Our first level, or only level 2 case today is case FLD 2021-03002. The address is 125 Island Way. The owner is Dolphin K of Island Estates LLC, and the applicant is Arcturus Group LLC. The request, the Community Development Board is reviewing a request for 27 attached dwelling units in the high-density residential district of Island Estates neighborhood. The building will be 80, I believe the height has been lowered to 83 feet, but I'm sure the staff will present that and correct me if I'm wrong, and provides a minimum of 54 off-street parking spaces and requests allowable flexibility for building height, setbacks, and landscape requirements. Is there any member of the board that has a disclosure to make regarding contacts they've had with the city on this item? Right? I'm going to talk about party status. Is there anyone who wishes to be granted party status for this item today? All right. I believe we can begin with the planning staff presentation.
Madam Chair, the city would ask that the board accept Mr. Nornberger as an expert witness on zoning, site plan analysis, planning in general, landscaping ordinance, and all matters upon which he's about to testify.
Right. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Good afternoon, Kevin Norberger, Planning and Development. 0.907 acre upland property is zoned high-density residential district in the Iowa State's Conservation Overlay District.
Excuse me one second. I don't know if your mic's on. Is it?
Yeah.
Well, maybe. I hear it.
There I am. I just come up there.
Pull it closer to you.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Kevin Norberger, Planning and Development. The 0.907 acre upland property is zoned high-density residential in the Island Estates Conservation Overlay District with a future land use designation of residential high and water. The site is currently vacant, being used as parking. The request is for a maximum of 27 attached dwelling units. A total of 54 off-site parking spaces are required. The site plan shows that they are providing 57. The proposal includes a front west setback of 10 feet to pavement and 73 feet to building, a side north setback of 4 feet to pavement and 22 feet to building, a side south setback of 0 feet to pavement and 22 feet to building, and a rear east setback of 0 feet to pool deck and 41 feet to the building from the seawall, which is not technically considered an actual setback measurement. The west, north, and south minimum required setbacks to building have been met based on the development standards for property zoned HDR district in the Island Estates Neighborhood Conservation Overlay District. Setbacks are measured from the property line. However, the rear property line extends approximately, approximately 140 feet beyond the seawall. For purposes of reviewing the site plan, the measurements were taken from the seawall. And so the rear setback is at 41 feet, so it's actually meeting the minimum standard development setback. The waterfront site visibility triangles have been shown to be met. The site is proposing the maximum practical landscaping improvements and is focusing landscaping improvements in those areas that are most visible, which is the front and the north and the side. Staff believes the applicant made a good faith effort to meet that intent of the code. Staff advertised the building height conservatively at the highest point or architectural element at 87 feet. The proposed height is still within the allowable height for attached dwellings as less than 130 feet from base flood elevations. The development proposals consist of construction of 69-foot height building to roof line, 74 feet to top of mansard roof, and 83 feet to the stair tower. Just kind of giving an idea of the building. The proposed building site and height is consistent with the existing community character. Most of the properties on the east and west side of Island Way consist of attached dwelling buildings ranging in height from 2 stories to 16 stories. Several of these properties also have surface parking in front of the building. Staff recommends approval to the project subject to 20 conditions of approval. However, staff would like to revise condition number 11 to read that prior to the issuance of any building permit, excluding demolition and clearing and grubbing, that all applicable requirements of Chapter 39 of the Building Code be met related to seawall setbacks. I'd like that changed to that prior to the issuance of the building permit, excluding demolition and clearing and grubbing, that all applicable requirements of Chapter 31 of the Building Code be met related to seawalls. Staff would also like to ask that page 3 be revived of the staff report to read, "The development proposal consists of the construction of a 69-foot high building to flat roof line, 74 feet to top of mansard roof, and 83 feet to stair tile from basement elevation. The proposal consists of 27 attached dwellings." Would also like to revise page 6, maximum building height pursuant to CDC, we'd like to read it to say, pursuant to CDC's Table 2504, the height of a building may range between 30 and 130 feet as residential infill project. This table provides that the development standards for residential infill projects are guidelines and may be varied based on the criteria specified in section 2504F. The building height is 69 feet to flat roof slab, 74 feet to mansard roof, and 83 feet to top of stair tower from the baseline elevation. Also, I believe engineering will be next to kind of come up and state that they are proposing to revise condition number 15.
Good afternoon, Ivan Dimitrov, City of Clearwater Engineering Department. We just want to make a change to condition number 15 in the staff report. The original condition says that prior to the issuance of any building other than demo and clearing and grubbing, a revised site plan shall be submitted to the satisfaction of city staff showing the existing stormwater traversing the proposed parking lot to be removed and the new equivalent system shown to be constructed per city standards and specifications to reroute drainage flow along island ways, right-of-way, and the north property line. The revised site plan shall also remove all retaining walls traversing over the proposed 15-foot wide drainage easement. The revised condition number 15 shall be that prior to the issuance of any permit other than demo and clearing and grubbing, a revised site plan be submitted to the satisfaction of city staff showing the existing storm sewer traversing the proposed parking lot to be removed and the new equivalent storm system shown to be constructed per the city standard specifications to reroute drainage flow along island ways, right-of-way, and north property line. Thank you.
I think that's it. So if there are any questions for staff, I'm available.
Does anyone have any questions? Mr. Ehrenberger? Okay. Next, we'll hear from the applicant.
Good afternoon. Katie Cole with the law firm of Hill Ward Henderson, representing the applicant. Just as a matter of business, I did want to confirm that the warranty deed granting ownership to Dolphin K of Island Estates LLC, it was submitted as part of the application. The staff report correctly identifies the owner, but your agenda does not, because when it was produced, it pulled the former information from the property appraiser. So I did just want to provide the deed for the record. Sorry to be sure to do that.
Well, why don't you submit that to the clerk?
I can do that. It's also in the application. It was submitted initially with the application, so you have it on the record, but I just wanted to say that. Thank you. First of all, we wanted to say thank you to the staff. This project was one that this has been a vacant property for some time on Island Estates, and our clients recently purchased it and very quickly worked with staff to identify the opportunities here in an appropriate plan. As reported in Mr. Nurnberg's staff report, it does meet the criteria for a level 2 approval. The reason for the level 2 approval is in the high density residential for the Island Estates overlay, a residential infill application is the path that you have to proceed under. And so the height is over 30 feet, and the setbacks, as you know, in the city of Clearwater are measured to pavement, not building. So as reflected on both the plans and the staff report, the setbacks to the building are significantly greater than what the minimum standards would be, but the setbacks to pavement, to the edge of the pavement, are what requires the relief here. The height, you received a letter of opposition, and I know there are some neighbors here to speak to the height of the building, and so I did want to briefly address that. The height, as I'm sure you're aware, in the city of Clearwater is based upon base flood elevation as compared to NAVD or ground elevation. And so the elevations that were provided in the application measured to the top of the tower roof specifically, without the details showing what may or may not be an overrun, which is allowed by code without counting toward height or other things. And so the applicant did provide an updated sheet. I'm happy to. Thank you. So, based upon this, you can see that the 86. Thank you. The inside measurement is the 87 feet that was advertised. This measurement here, highlighted in pink, is the 83 feet, which is the actual top of roof, including the overruns, which otherwise would not be required to be included. And so the actual height of the building, based upon how the city of Clearwater measures height to the top of base flood, is the 74 feet, which is the middle there. You all did receive a letter of objection from one of the neighbors at the adjacent property. And as you can see here, there's 8 stories at the adjacent property plus the elevator overrun, which is what's permitted above the height measurement. The proposed building is 7 stories plus that same elevator overrun and architectural treatment. So I just thought this was an important thing to show what the adjacent property and the equivalent heights. Recognizing, of course, to this, on the other side of the property is a lower scale 3 or 4 story building, but this is consistent with the neighborhood and how it fits in there. We do have our engineer of record, Ms. Pat Montecchi with Arcturus Group, who is here, who can speak as to the engineering conditions or the setbacks and site design, and also Mr. Mike Keller with Phrase Design with the architect. The owners, Mr. Steve Page and Bob Lyons, are also here and can speak as needed. With that, I will reserve any other time to respond. I do know that there are several of the neighbors here. Other than the letter in the packet, we did not receive any direct correspondence as to other items, so I'm also interested to hear what they say and happy to respond after that. Also happy to answer any questions as needed.
Any member of the board have questions at this time? Thank you. All right. I believe at this point, since we have no parties claiming party status, it would be cross-examination of witnesses by the planning staff.
None.
All right. Cross-examination of witnesses by the applicant.
Thank you.
All right. Then we'll have comments by the public. If you'll come forward one at a time and state your name and spell it for the clerk. Come on.
My name is Samuel Ricotta. That's R-I-C-O-T-T-A. I reside at 121 Island Way, unit number 324. First thing I want to say thank you to the developer. We're getting rid of that nuisance that we put up with for the past 8 years, so thank you very much for putting something up. A couple concerns, even though I spoke to a gentleman earlier. My first concern is our building is old. Dates back to the 70s. You're going to be approximately 60 feet plus or minus from the parallel line of our building. You're going to be a combination of drilling and or driving concrete piles, I understand, down to maybe 100% resistance to support your structure. My concern is the vibrations coming across. Now, if you, the panel here, can remember, 8 years ago, plus or minus, you had a proposal in front of you for this identical site. And there was a very large concern for the vibrations coming across because of their input that they found that the ground was, my words, soft, very unstable. And that was a concern going back to that proposal almost 8 years ago. So again, I'm reiterating the concern at that point. The other thing is, excuse me, on our parallel property line, we have an existing landscape area. Palm trees, hedgerow, we're concerned that we do not want that damaged and or removed. It's been there, it's been ours. I know the property line is tight. I understand and respect that, but we do not want that removed and or damaged. Okay, the other comment I have is I'm looking forward to get this done, get moving, get rid of this nuisance we put up with for 8 years, but consider the fact of the vibrations coming across from your combination of driving. Now, I understand driving of pilings. I'm associated years ago with a company called Raymond International. So anyone in the engineering firm here knows who Raymond International is, and okay? So please, concerned, vibrations, damage to our structure, and what assurance are we going to have if indeed we have any damage to our structure, we have someone's door to knock on to get it taken care of. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to speak on this item?
Good afternoon, Margaret Felton, 223 Island Way, apartment 6H. One of my concerns was the setback, and I understand from the lawyer here this morning or this afternoon, I'm still not happy about that extra 30 feet because my vision of the harbor will be gone if that building is pulled forward that much. But I understand all the other rules, regulations. The other thing I noticed that in the proposal, section 3-914A4, it said the proposed development is designed to minimize traffic congestion. And someone can explain to me how this is going to help the traffic congestion, being right in front of an intersection that is like the Wild Wild West on a Friday night, especially during spring break? That's my question. How's that going to be addressed? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak? Come forward.
Good afternoon. My name's Brian Kalin. I'm a resident, 223 Island Way. It's the building just north, Kalan. I believe you received a letter from me to the board, which is good. Some of the concerns of myself and other residents at the building, you've shown quite a few different views, but never the view from our side of the building, which is facing the site. You can see all the different residents that are directly facing the building. I could even bring that down a little bit. And of course, our concern with any condominium price-wise, I see the statements throughout the application that it will not severely affect anybody's property values, and that's one of the things I do take exception to. And I'm sure the new building will be the same way. You usually pay more for elevation. Seen this happen with the public shopping center across the street. Roof heights were approximately the same as the old building, and then they went and built another 3 feet on top of it, which took away the view for most of the people on the front of the building of the Gulf of Mexico, the harbor, etc. And I kind of see that same thing happening here. Looking at the building height, I don't really see necessarily, most of it is ornamental, the high towers for the stairwells, the mansard part, et cetera. I don't really understand why that building has to be that height. It definitely will restrict the view from quite a few of the condos on that side of the building, as you can see. The other question I had as well is, I don't see any boat slips on the application, although I do see the owner of the property advertising boat slips for the building. So I wasn't sure, is there going to be boat slips, no boat slips? And if we can just take a moment and take a look at that maximum height again and the effect to property values on that side, I'd appreciate that. Thank you for your time.
Do we have any other members of the public who would like to speak on this issue? Come on.
Hi, my name is Patricia Griffin, and I live in 223 Island Way, condo 6E. This will affect my property value because I'm going to lose my view of the Sandkeep Bridge. So I'm disappointed in that. When I purchased my property back in 2014, I was told that they could not build anything higher than 4 stories over there with the ability to put the garages underneath and then 4 stories of condos. So I selected my condo on the 6th floor based upon the fact that nothing would be built any higher than that. I had correspondence from my realtor on that, and I'm looking for that at this time. My other concern, which is huge, is I'm an environmentalist, and when Publix put on their addition, it was wonderful that they were doing that, but there was not any environment protection. And I watched concrete dust and everything flow back into the water on the side where my balcony is, and it was just pouring out. I called several people in the city. I got no response. I called the fire department finally, and they came out, and they agreed that, this is awful. It just looked like white concrete pouring into the water. And, we can't say if this happened in relation to that, but we had a mother dolphin and a baby dolphin, and suddenly we didn't see the mother anymore, but the baby dolphin was out there, and we don't know if that affected that. What is the city doing to protect this water? I mean, we're all living there because we enjoy looking at the dolphins. They're building the dolphin, koi. And we're not going to have any if we don't have something going on to monitor and protect this. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on this item? All right. I think at this time, the planning staff has any cross-examination or comments they want to make, or should we hand it over to Ms. Cole? All right, Ms. Cole?
Thank you all. There's not really too much to add based on the initial presentation. Obviously, this board does not control the types of construction and construction techniques, and that would be regulated by the city and the building department and would meet all of the standards required by them at that time. While we are sympathetic to people's perception that they may end up losing a view, I think, as you've probably heard on plenty of projects before you, that there is no legal right under the case law right now in the state of Florida to a view, and that the maximum height on the site could be up to 130 feet. So in essence, The developer has proposed a significantly shorter building in contemplation of what could be, would be appropriate in this neighborhood, and recognizing that, not coming to you asking for something significantly out of place. I did want to address the boat slips. There is a plan eventually for boat slips that's being permitted separately, and it's unclear whether those slips would require any type of extraordinary approval. And so it was, the city requires upland construction coming out of the ground before slips can be put in anyway. And so it just was a matter of timing on behalf of my client that they felt it would be better to move forward with this application, understand what was going to be the building first, the number of units, before they then sought to permit boat slips. So that may come for you at some point in the future, but I haven't seen those plans yet to know for sure that that's the case. So we do appreciate the staff recommendation of approval and the evidence that was included in both of the application and the staff recommendation to support the approval of this project. So, thank you very much.
I believe that concludes the hearing, and we'll proceed to deliberate as a board. Does anyone have any comments?
No particular comments, other than I think staff did a good job reviewing this. I think the application could be a significantly larger structure. It has significant setbacks, could go significantly taller, and seems to be in character with the neighborhood.
Anyone else have a comment?
I think covered it. I don't have anything to add.
All right. And I just want to briefly comment to Ms. Cole's comment about the view. This, in the 6.5 years I've been on this board, that issue has come up not infrequently. And consistently, we have been advised and we have determined that we can't take that into account. And it makes sense, because if a developer is going to do anything that's consistent with the high-density district, that's going to be an outcome that happens. So I know it's disappointing to hear that, and but I agree with Ms. Cole that that is something the board has been very consistent about. All right. Is there a motion?
Question on making a motion. With the two modifications to condition 11 and 15, can we just note the modifications as stated, or do we need to recite?
I think that's fine.
So I move to approve case number FLD 2021-3002. Based on the evidence and testimony presented in the application, the staff report, and at today's hearing, and hereby adopt the findings of fact and conclusions of law stated in the staff report with conditions of approval as listed, with the modifications to condition number 11 and condition number 15 as previously presented.
Yes, sir. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Right, the item is approved. That moves us to the director's issues.
I would like to turn it over to Mike now.
Thank you, Ms. Clayton. To my right, board members, I'd like to introduce you to Matthew Minnick. Mr. Minnick is the new attorney in my office. He will actually be assuming my role starting next month. I'm moving on to a new position in the legal department. I just wanted to introduce him to you all. I also wanted to take a moment to thank you all for your service to the city. I know you guys don't get paid a lot for this job, but you make very important decisions that help the city function, as it were. I would like to compliment and thank your counsel for his professionalism and knowledge in the area. Certainly one of the Michael Jordans in my arena, so I appreciate all the work that he does. And Gina and Lauren, you finally get a real lawyer, except one that doesn't play one on TV. So thank you all very much.
All right.
Glad to be working with you.
Welcome.
Yes.
And welcome.
Pleasure to meet you all.
Anything else, Ms. Clayton? All right. Meeting is adjourned.